Kaya. Kaya, folks. Kaya kwaba kiji jinang nunda mangamang yuranga wadandi buja. Hello, good to see you all together on Wadandi country. Nala Kadich Wadandi Nungyang Jali, the traditional owner Wadandi Buja. We acknowledge the Wadandi people, the traditional owners of this beautiful Wadandi Buja, and pay our respects to elders past and present. I declare this meeting open at 5:30. Item 2 on the agenda is attendance, and we do not have any apologies, nor do we have any approved leave this evening. Item 3 is disclosures of interest. Councillors, are there disclosures of interest that you wish to provide now? Councillor Boland?
Yes, I disclose an impartial interest in the agenda item 11.3.10, the old goods shed. The nature of my interest is impartiality. The details of that with regard to item 11.3.10, old goods shed, I declare that I'm a member of the Environment Centre, which is the current lessee of the building under discussion. As a consequence, there may be a perception that my impartiality may be affected. I declare that I will consider this matter on its merits and vote accordingly.
Thank you, Councillor. If you just wish to deliver that up here, thank you. No other disclosures, councillors? No? Okay, we now move into item 4, public questions, and 4.1, response to previous public questions taken on notice. There are none. So 4.2 is public question time. So thank you to everyone in the crowd that has already submitted questions to council. It's much appreciated. And this evening, due to the volumes of questions received, I would like to begin with the questions that were submitted in advance. So I shall do that. And as you can see, we have a really large agenda tonight. So I just encourage everyone to listen to the responses given for each of the questions, as your question may already have been answered in the previous questions. So I will now invite Michael Sorensen, if you could please come and state your name and address before proposing your question. Thank you.
Michael Sorensen, Kabadi Way, Witchcliffe, and thank you for the time. My questions are in regard to the stormwater drainage from the new subdivision west of Bustle Highway, Lewin at Witchcliffe, into the Witchcliffe Eco-Village. Firstly, some very brief background information. The Witchcliffe Eco-Village drainage system was designed to cater for stormwater only from within the village itself. The drainage system flows east into 3 dams, 2 of which are designated for irrigation of our agricultural lots, all of our common area gardens, and our individual vegetable gardens. There is no use of pesticides or herbicides, toxins or chemicals within the village. Our wastewater system is a village-wide in-house sewage plant and not individual septic systems and ATUs. The overriding premise of all of this is that the agricultural lot owners will have the option to apply for organic certification, and that our own individual vegetable gardens will be run on organic principles. To the best of my knowledge, there was no consultation with the Eco-Village developer or community from any party representing the Lewin at Witchcliffe developer, the local government, or other regulatory authorities. So my questions, and I have 4. Can the Shire confirm with the utmost urgency that they will investigate and implement ways to mitigate the flow of silt from the new subdivision on the west side of Bustle Highway into the Witchcliffe Eco-Village drainage system? I'll keep going. Will the Shire guarantee, on behalf of the developer, that no construction waste or debris from the new subdivision will flow into the Witchcliffe Eco-Village drainage system? And 3, will the Shire guarantee that no fertiliser, excess nutrients, toxins or chemicals from the new subdivision will enter into the Witchcliffe Eco-Village drainage system? And 4, will the Shire guarantee that no extra drainage from any future stages of the new subdivision enter into the Witchcliffe Eco-Village drainage system? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Sorensen, and I will, given that's quite administrative in nature, I will defer that to Mr Cuthbert, who's prepared to answer that. Thank you.
Hi, Michael. In relation to the first question, so that was about the investigation. So the answer there is yes, the developers, engineers and site contractor have been contacted already by the Shire, and sediment controls are to be installed ASAP. The controls will be in place until plantings within the flood detention basins have been established. And as a somewhat separate comment and a broader point, if any member of the public observes an issue which requires immediate action by the Shire, please just contact the Shire directly in the first instance, and this will allow the matter to be investigated promptly without having to wait for a council meeting. In relation to questions 2 to 4, it's the same answer for each of those. No, the Shire will not guarantee anything on behalf of the developer, given that the developer and the Shire are separate entities, as you would understand. The Shire will continue to monitor the situation to ensure that the developer is complying with any directions that we do issue them.
That's it.
It is.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr Sorensen, and thanks for highlighting these issues. But I think, yeah, whilst it might not satisfy your concerns, I think it's really important that community members do report issues like these directly through to the Shire, so it can be actioned for follow-up investigation. Yep, thank you. Okay, so now I've got some public questions that have been submitted, particularly around the Narrabri proposed development. So, of course, our council acknowledges that the Narrabri development is a complex matter and one that continues to generate strong public interest. So, whilst questions will be answered tonight, I do also encourage you to go onto the website and look at our FAQ release on the Shire's website, as it may help to clarify some concerns amongst the community. So I will start with those questions that have been submitted in advance, and I have a question from Ulf Klittenberg. If you are in the audience there, or someone on your behalf. Ulf Klittenberg? No? Okay, we'll move on to Valerie. Is Valerie in the audience? Well, I might just, so those ones were quite administrative in nature, so I will move on to the next question. Sarah Jessup. Is Sarah in the audience, or someone on Sarah's behalf? Well, I'm happy to read out this question, I think, because it does give you some information. So Sarah submitted a question in regards to the Narrabri development. The Shire voted no to support it. Preserve Narrabri do not support it. Can you work together, utilising all the tools and skills at everyone's disposal to stop the development? Now is not the time for division in our community. So I have asked the staff to help prepare some words for me for these questions. So I will now just go through this question particularly. And for the record, the last thing that our council wants is division in our community. I think we are a strongly connected community and we have commonly shared values in this special place, Augusta Margaret River Shire, on Wadandi and Pilbara. So firstly, to acknowledge that we do really understand that. The Shire's role with respect to the proposed Narrabri development is one of being a referring body, meaning that the state government, by the State Development Assessment Unit in 2021, the proposal for assessment by the Shire staff against the planning framework. So we're the referring body regarding the planning framework to provide our recommendation to that body. Thus, the Shire's role is not to stop the development, but simply to advise as to whether it does or does not comply with the established planning framework, which is a substantially different approach to the one that Preserve Narrabri takes. Respectfully, you're a community group fighting for something. The Shire's view is that each party, understanding their roles appropriately and respectfully, need to not cause division amongst the community. I have a question here also submitted by Peter Lane. Did I see Peter in the audience? Thanks, Peter. If you could please state your name and address.
Thank you. Peter Lane, 502 Carters Road, Birdside. My question is concerning the ground stability and the suitability for building on that site. Groundwater movement can be a good indicator of the presence of cavities and poorly consolidated sediments, and that is evidence of unstable ground. In the September 27th, 1996 catastrophic cliff collapse at Gracetown was due entirely to groundwater movement following a very wet winter. The proposed Land Corp development at Gracetown was rejected due to perceived groundwater instability, groundwater-caused instability. The initial evidence of this was an active spring flowing from the development area. The geological formation at Narrabah, the Tamala limestone, is the same as that at those locations. The location of the limestone cliffs has been incorrectly mapped at Narrabah by an extraordinary amount of 150 metres, and I've checked that from their mapping and I've walked the area. The geology of the coastal region has simply not been correctly mapped. There are numerous caves and cavities along the faces of the limestone cliffs, but neither these, let alone their implications, have been recorded in any of the reports by the proponent. The presence of caves in karst topography is of paramount importance in assessing both the coastal and structural integrity of the limestone. There's strong evidence of subsea springs in the Narrabah Bay. It is apparent that spring water could only originate from the adjacent higher ground, that is most likely from the proposed development area. This can be taken as an indicator of ground instability. Further, this implies a distinct risk of contaminants from the development site entering the bay. Groundwater movement has not been referred to in any of the reports. Despite rainfall often exceeding 1 metre a year, there is no runoff. There are no streams at the surface. This is conclusive evidence of a large volume of water moving through the subsurface. And this can only happen through poorly consolidated sediments, fissures, or cavities. Strong and arguably conclusive evidence of rock formations of poor quality and poor structural integrity. I just emphasise this is not rocket science. This is common sense, and it's not being considered either by the proponent or by the EPA. No mention has been made of the Gracetown cliff collapse or the rejection of the Land Corp development. The recent cliff collapse at Rifle Butts may also be of relevance, and that's not been even mentioned in any of the reports. Sea levels are rising, Southern Ocean swells are higher, and this has been recorded by NASA. The effect of climate change, including that of more intense fires, has not been addressed in any reports. And geochemical work undertaken to date has been grossly inadequate. Only 2 bores have been drilled, and to my knowledge, it has not, the rate of penetration has not been recorded. The rate of penetration is critical in determining the integrity of the rocks you're drilling through.
Sorry, Pete, I really don't want to cut you short, but could you please get to your
finished.
question? Thank you. It is public question time.
I wish they had addressed it first, then I wouldn't be doing this. Noting that it would require considerable on-the-ground, I'm sorry, I want to finish that rate of penetration. If the drill bit drops, it drops because there's a cavity there. If it goes faster, it's because the sediments are unstable, and that has not been recorded. Noting that it would require considerable on-the-ground work and expenditure by the proponent, will the Council do its utmost to ensure these concerns, specifically that of structural integrity of the proposed development site and the nature and effect of groundwater movement, are comprehensively addressed? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lane, for your question. Whilst understanding that, you feel that these components are missed and consistent with our council decision of the 23rd of March 22, we did resolve amongst the other things the reasons why we did not support it. But one of them was certainly to seek confirmation from the SDAU, who are responsible for determining this application, that the geotechnical characteristics of the land will provide a sound base upon which to build without impacting upon subterranean fauna and having regard to future coastal processes. So council is effectively supportive of your concerns, and that is a request and confirmation that we put through to the SDAU. So thank you, Peter, for asking that question.
Thank you.
Folks, can I please ask that all future public questions that you do just ask the question. Whilst I respect your want to have lots of background, we do have a really tight agenda and I've got a lot of questions to get through. So if you can please just ask your question of council, that would be much appreciated. Next one is Mary Jo Duffy. Could you come forward, please? Name and address.
Mary Jo Duffy, 20 Coronation Street, Margaret River. Question. Does the council believe further development at Narrabri is safe for the community given the extreme bushfire risk at this locality?
Thank you, Ms Duffy, for your pre-asked question. So the Shire is of the view that the bushfire assessment prepared by the proponent and considered in 2022 is now deficient, given that the bushfire planning policy framework has changed in the intervening period. As such, the Shire has written to the SDAU to request that this information be updated and further considered by an independent bushfire consultant, the Shire and the Department of Fire and Emergency Services. This process will assist the SDAU as a decision maker in this matter to determine whether or not the development will be safe and compliant. I would now ask Sarah Males to come forward. If Sarah's in the crowd, if you could please state your name and address and ask your question. Thanks.
Sarah Males of 4 Red Gum Court in Margaret River. I think this might be kind of a crossover question, but does the council support the position of the Department of Fire and Emergency Services that the proposed development application at Narrabri doesn't meet the access and evacuation requirements of the State Planning Policy 3.7?
In short, no, and in line with Council's decision on the 23rd of March 22, it was clearly the recommendation that the development not be approved in its current form, and that was identifying concerns regarding bushfire and access. And you have another question, Sarah?
Yes, just while the council is not the ultimate decision maker over the development of Narrabri, why is it not doing everything in its power to represent the wishes of the community to prevent or minimise the development at the coast of Narrabri, or to be seen to doing so?
Thank you for that question. And given that the Narrabri development is a planning proposal, the Shire's role and our actions are defined by the planning process. The Shire's response to the development is therefore necessarily focused on how the development does or does not comply with the established planning rules set for that area. As we have talked about, the decision maker, and I think we all understand, is the SDAU, will be are well aware of the community's views, having heard from them directly via the consultation process. And thank you to all of you who have put the effort in that process. But the most constructive way for the Shire to contribute to the process going forward is to continue to respond to requests from the SDAU to assist them with their planning assessment. Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks.
All these answers will be published in the minutes, by the way, folks. So could I please ask Sally Pivus to come forward? Thanks, Sally.
Thank you.
You have 2 questions.
Yes, can you hear me? Okay, a couple of quick questions from me, Sally Pivus, 64 Marmaduke Point Road, Narrabri. Question 1. Given that AMR Shire's own bushfire risk management plan rates lots 501 to 504 and 783 as, quote, extreme risk, and describes the likelihood of catastrophic bushfire at Narrabuppa as, quote, almost certain, with catastrophic consequences which include, quote, likely deaths and injuries with local resources overwhelmed and unable to cope, end quote, please list, itemised with dates, all actions the administration and or council have taken to prevent development in this unsafe locality to thereby prevent death, injury and loss of property into the future. I'll read the second question.
Thank you.
Given the Local Government Act, section 3.11A, a little 111, requires the AMR Shire to, quote, have regard to the need in making decisions to consider potential long-term consequences and impacts on future generations, end quote, what has the AMR Shire done specifically to address and respond to these statutory requirements in respect of any development on lots 501, 504 and 783 Narrabuppa, which are highly likely to be affected by catastrophic fire in the future?
Thank you for your questions. So just to address the first one and to clarify that the Shire's focus is not to prevent further development at Narrabuppa. Rather, our position, the Shire and Council's position, is directed at the planning scheme, which specifically provides for a form of development on the vacant sites. Council's view is that the current process the current proposal does not meet the scheme requirements and other relevant planning policies, to make that clear. And in regards to question 2, that question really refers to making decisions. So with respect to development on the sites mentioned, as I've mentioned previously, the Shire is not the decision maker. With that being said, the Shire are taking the appropriate steps, working within the confines of the planning process, clunky at times, to ensure that the decision maker is aware of the Shire's view with respect to the compliance or otherwise of the proposal with the applicable bushfire planning policy framework. Okay. Thank you for your question.
I also have questions which were emailed in from Janet Holmes, the Court, and Gil George, who are unable to attend. Janet Holmes, the Court, 75 Marmaduke Point Drive, Narrabuppa. 1, what is the reason the Council excluded the Saraceni development from its survey of areas that are prone to dangerous bushfire risk, and why is there apparent reluctance to include this area in a supplementary assessment? Next question, does the Saraceni plan to still require the clearing of Crown land for car parks, etc.? And if so, what is the quid pro quo the Council expects from the developer? And question 3, what long-term cost does the Council put on the reduction of amenity for local residents and day visitors to Narrabuppa, the extra pressure on local infrastructure, including sewage, the extra pressure on accommodation and staffing when local services are already overstretched dealing with existing tourists, and the increased potential for fatalities in an area of high fire risk and limited egress?
Thank you for asking those questions on behalf of others. So in regards to the first one, so undertaking an evaluation of the bushfire risk for the Narrabuppa development sites or any development site in our Shire is the responsibility of the proponent, and the Shire are seeking to ensure that this is completed as part of the development process for the proposal. The Shire wrote to the SDAU, being the decision maker with respect to this development in May 2025, to ensure an updated bushfire management plan reflecting current guidelines is prepared before any final decision is made. We also asked that the BMP include a strategic risk assessment and independently reviewed and shared with DFES and the Shire for further input. This approach follows current planning process, involves expert advice and ensures any future development is assessed by bushfire safety in line with the current standards. In regards to the second question around the Crown land for car parks clearing, the Shire to date has not been provided with any updated plans since the proposal was considered by this Council in October 22. And in regards to the third part of the question, the Shire has not determined what the financial cost of the development, should it be approved, would be on surrounding infrastructure. However, Council has determined that the proposal cannot be supported in its current form for a range of reasons, including potential impacts on the environment, infrastructure and bush safety. The Shire has also undertaken the step of appealing to the EPA approval on the project as a means to seek enforceable conditions which require the developer to contribute to foreshore upgrades commensurate with the additional people, obviously, that this development would attract to that specific area. I'll now ask Jay Baddock to come forward with your question if you're there. Thank you, Jay.
Good evening, Jay Baddock from 16 Herbertia Terrace in Brookfield. I appreciate you've already referred to this question through other ones. Will Council undertake an independent bushfire hazard level assessment of the 5 proposed development sites at Narrabri as soon as possible, so there is an independent professional assessment of risk for those lots upon which to base planning decisions?
Thank you for that question. So this is a matter which will require a vote by council, so I cannot answer this question at the time, actually. Sorry about that, but yep. Okay, I now have a question from Iona Beryl. Are you there, Ms Beryl? Thank you. If you can state your name and address, thanks.
Hello, my name's Iona Beryl, 10 Merchant Street, Margaret River. My question's pretty much been answered, but I will ask it again anyway to reinforce how I feel. So we almost lost lives as well as 40 houses in the last Narrabri fire in 2011. If there was more development on the coast without improvement of access, it is likely more houses will be burnt and people will die. What has the council done to prevent this catastrophic outcome from happening again?
Thank you for your question, and to reinforce the previous answers and relevant to this as well, Council's recommendation to the decision maker is quite clear, and in this case, we have said to the SDAU that it not be approved as currently presented and cites concerns regarding access in a bushfire emergency situation, and Council will continue to engage in the decision-making process to ensure these concerns are properly addressed. So, folks, they are all the pre-submitted public questions. Now, if you feel that, if there's any other public questions that wish to be asked at this time, now is your opportunity. Anyone? No? Okay. So that concludes public question time. We'll now move on to item 5 of the agenda, and that is, I'll just let those leave that wish to leave. Okay, councillors, we'll now move to item 5 of the agenda, is applications for leave of absence. Are there any applications for leave of absence, councillors? No? Okay. We'll now move to item 6, which is confirmation of minutes of the previous meeting. So that's the OCM of the 25th of June 2025. Councillor Boland, I believe, has an amendment, but we need to get the motion on the table. So do I have a councillor to move that motion?
Well, I was going to move the motion.
Yes. Okay, Councillor Boland, and a seconder. Councillor Daff? Yes. Councillor Boland?
And I think there are 2 small amendments that need to be made, just to clarify who was the presiding member.
Yep.
There's an amendment there on the screen that Council confirms the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on 25 June 25 with the following amendment on page 5, that the words presiding member and Shire President be omitted and replaced with the words Deputy Shire President, Councillor Muir.
Thank you. Councillor Boland, so that's your amendment. Do I have a seconder to move that? Councillor Muir, do you wish to move that? Okay. That's quite a minor administrative amendment. I don't think we need to talk to that, councillors. Let's put that to the vote, please. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. That now becomes a part of the substantial motion. Councillor Boland, do you wish to speak to that primary motion? No. And Councillor Daff, do you wish to speak to that? If there's no one to speak against it, let's put that to the vote, councillors. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item 7 is deputations, and we have 2 approved deputations. Can I please ask Peter Goodwin to come to the podium? State your name and address before you commence. Thank you.
Peter Goodwin, 12 Elva Street. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to the Council on behalf of the Margaret River Regional Environment Centre about what has been for us a wicked problem, and for you, I know, since we took over the lease 10 years ago and started trying to re-establish and enlarge our centre there. We're greatly encouraged by the support currently being given us by Shire officers, CEO and Council, and by your willingness to look at all the options. And we are committed to working with you and the other groups operating on the site, as well as with heritage, historical and railways people on this to find the best solution. Can you hear me?
Yes.
We've sent out an email prior to this meeting to all councillors and the CEO that included a brief summary of our several failed attempts to renovate the shed, the reasons for these failures, as well as a description of what we have achieved in terms of activating the site. So I won't repeat all that here, you'll be pleased to know. I would like first to outline the reasons we need a meeting place on this site. The major part of our work is environmental advocacy. Our members are actively involved in this in many ways: environmental protection, conservation and policy making. This work can and has been done by individuals or small groups working online in their own homes or in larger groups on the streets, in the forests or on the mine sites. Engaging people to do this work, however, is not easy this way. People like to meet face to face. They want to check out how a group works before they sign up to it, and they want to see if they can fit in with the other members. They want to chat outside of formal meetings or actions to establish these things. They want a community and a place for that to manifest. They want legitimacy. One aspect of what we do deals with an issue that has not been spoken about very much, but is now acknowledged as a real problem. That is the increase in eco-anxiety. The types of community education and actions that we undertake are known to be beneficial for both mental health and the environment, as they allow individuals to channel their anxieties into proactive efforts. They can promote a sense of agency and control, while also contributing in practical ways to environmental protection and repair. This can lead to a more optimistic outlook and a feeling of empowerment for them. Due to our lack of a central meeting place, or in fact any form of shelter from the elements on our site, we have had difficulty engaging with people who may be interested in and benefit from the work that we do. Our membership has declined over the years, due in part, we believe, to this lack of a home base. We have nowhere to show what we do and have done in the past that people can look at, read and think about in their own time. We have also been unable to offer space to groups of younger people who want to be environmentally or politically active and need somewhere outside of schools or their family homes to meet and talk. We know that they are very affected by eco-anxiety and often see the problems and solutions differently to us, and we would love to be able to accommodate them on our site so that they can express themselves freely and that we can learn from them. We would like to be able to mentor them by way of sharing a meeting space, providing auspicing for funding and any other resources that we have or can obtain to assist them. The shed, as it stands as a Class 7B warehouse storage facility, is not suitable for this. I would like to amend some of the statements made in the officer's report and address the officer's recommendation for the shed, as stated in the agenda. Firstly, we feel that while it may be true that demolition of the shed could set an undesirable precedent, relocation, which has not been discussed, would not be setting any precedent, as all the other railway buildings and property on the lease have been sold off and relocated by the Shire previously. Secondly, the shed has been described in the officer's report and the Heritage Assessment report as a valuable and well-utilised storage facility for the groups. This is not the case. We use sea containers for storage, as the ratty residents of the shed eat everything, and what they can't eat, they poo on or nest in. The only items we have ever stored in the shed are the panels we store on the walls and the pantry fridges. And the fridges are necessary to protect food items. The officer's recommendation, this is the latest one, which is undertake repairs to the shed to make compliant with a Class 7B storage building under NCC without retained heritage values, does not change anything for us. We also feel that spending even $140,000 on repairs to a shed that will still not be suitable to be used for storage due to not being able to be made rodent-proof, nor accessible to any third party, this presumably includes members of the public, will remain unusable as a general meeting crib room for the groups using the site and will require ongoing maintenance for years to come, is a waste of ratepayers' money.
Sorry, Peter, you've gone over your time, but I'm going to indulge you because you're nearly done, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Almost,
actually.
yep.
I'll go quickly. Removal, this is the important part though. Removal either by demolition or relocation would be a much cheaper option in the long term, we believe. However, the extra land available to us once the easement area is resumed into our lease will allow us to pursue the following proposal, whether the shed is there or not. Should Council follow the officer's recommendation, we, that is the Community Pantry and Marek, will be pursuing a proposal to move transportable buildings onto the site and connect them to each other in such a way as to provide outdoor shelter space, meeting, work and storage areas. We ask for Council and Shire administrative support for this, as it will enable us to make this site a true community centre for resilience and build on the success we have had in doing this already without any of these spaces. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Just stay there, please. Councillors, are there any councillors who wish to ask any questions of Peter? I have a question. Just to clarify, confirm that the goods shed is just separate to that, what you just talked about, the goods shed's happy with the officer's recommendation in the report. Is that correct? Which is, sorry, I'll just pull it up. That council pursues option 1A, which is undertake repairs to the old goods shed within the reserve to make it safe and structurally sound for use as a Class 7B building.
That doesn't make any difference to us at all,
Yeah,
if that happens or not.
But you're talking about your future plans and what your intent is.
Well, we've decided that actually none of the recommendations are going to do anything except the one that we can't do, which is bring that shed up to 9B. So we'd rather take the opportunity to build something new, since that was offered as well.
Okay, and I'm sure you understand you've probably been advised that we just have to keep that separate to this decision, of course, but
yes.
Thank you for highlighting what your intent is to council, so we're aware of it, but that will need to be dealt with in a separate process. Councillor Muir?
Yeah, I just have a question, Peter. I'm wondering if we do follow that recommendation, potentially would that provide some leverage for funding for you if the Shire is investing in the site and I guess the old goods shed? Would that be beneficial to any grant applications that you may make?
I don't know. I mean, as far as I can see, nothing's really going to change except the roof's going to be screwed down. So I don't know if it would be of any benefit.
Okay, we can
thanks for
additionally ask questions. I was thinking when we get to that item also of the staff. Yeah. Any other questions for Peter Goodwin? No. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
We also have councillors an approved deputation from Erin Crute in regards to the same item, the old goods shed. Thank you. If you could state your name and address.
Hi councillors, I'm Erin Crute from 81 Palandry Road in Burnside. Thank you for the opportunity to provide this deputation. I represent the Margaret River Community Pantry. As it wasn't outlined in the agenda item, I'd like to begin by briefly explaining the role of the Margaret River Community Pantry. We are a not-for-profit, community-led organisation addressing food insecurity and food waste in the Margaret River and Augusta region. Through food rescue and redistribution, we support hundreds of local residents each year, ensuring access to affordable, healthy food in a welcoming and inclusive environment. At the same time, we help reduce landfill by diverting tonnes of usable food, which closely aligns with the Shire's sustainability goals. As acknowledged in the agenda, we currently have no alternative premises, and the Shire has indicated that the old goods shed is not suitable for our use in its current condition. However, we are not seeking to relocate, and while we have explored other shared facility options, none have offered the synergy that we experience at this site. As outlined in our letter to the councillors on the 16th of June 2025, we believe our partnership with MREC is a valuable collaboration that enhances our work and contributes meaningfully to the broader community. Option 1A, which has been the officer's recommendation, while framed as a heritage response, seems to primarily address risk and liability for the Shire. Even after an investment of $140,000, the shed would still be unfit for public use and fail to meet the needs of the user groups. It wouldn't meet food safety requirements, allow public access, or contribute to user groups' aspirations for a thriving community precinct. In our view, option 1A offers the least value, is the least useful and least meaningful in terms of heritage conservation. It does not, in our view, align in any way with the Strategic Community Plan 2040, particularly its commitment to provide fit-for-purpose community infrastructure. That said, we believe the future of the site depends on coordinated and cooperative approach by the community groups who currently occupy and care for it. Together, we have the vision, local knowledge and capacity to drive planning, fundraising and collaborative design for a fit-for-purpose transportable building. We hope that should councillors vote on the officer's recommendation of option 1A, rather than demolition, relocation or renovation of the site, of the old goods shed, that we will encourage the Shire to give us clarity around approvals and lease arrangements so we can move on with certainty and continue with making this site the vibrant community hub we know it can be. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Croot. Are there any questions, councillors, of our deputy? No? Okay, thank you. As there are no other further deputations, councillors, we'll move on to item 8, petitions. Are there any petitions that's been presented? Nope, okay. And now, councillors, just briefly, Shire President announcements. So, as we all know, we're now in the Noongar season of Makaroo, cool, wet and full of life, a time for reflection, connection and community. We have the local government elections coming up on Saturday the 18th of October 2025. So folks in the audience there or any that have tuned in on our live stream, if you care about your community and want to help shape its future, I encourage you to consider nominating for council. There's some key dates to enrol to vote or check your voting details is by 5 p.m. the 22nd of August. Nominations open for candidates from the 28th of August and close at 4 p.m. on the 4th of September. As I'm sure many of you elected members in the room can agree that being an elected member, a councillor, is a meaningful way to give back and have your voice heard and make a real impact. We've continued our advocacy efforts with our local representatives, recently meeting with our federal member Ben Small and Bevan Eates, MLC, to discuss our regional priorities. Council were also proud to attend the launch of 3 standout events that really bring energy and culture to our region in the Cabin Fever Festival, Margaret River Region Open Studios and, of course, Cine Fest Oz kicking off on Thursday night next door at the Heart. These events really showcase the amazing creativity and spirit of our community here in the AMR Shire and provide a boost to our local economy in the quieter months. Encourage you to join the Unhoused Conversation, Soup and Stories, on Thursday the 7th of August. That's at the Fernav precinct, led by LAMP with community partners. And this event is a real chance to listen, learn and connect around the issues of homelessness in our region, held during Homelessness Week. And of course, councillors, I continue to meet with local community group leaders to hear firsthand about what matters most across our towns. So let's keep supporting one another, walking gently on Wadani Budja and building a strong, connected region together. We now move into item 10, which is questions from members, of which due notice has been given and there are none. So we now will go to item 11 first. Councillors, I'd like to propose that we change the order of business. So a procedural motion, please, to bring forward the goods shed item, which is 11.3.10. Councillor Earl to move that. Councillor Muir seconded it. Let's vote on that, shall we? Thank you. That's carried unanimously. So we'll now consider item 11.3.10, changing the order slightly. And councillors, we have a recommendation there. Do I have a councillor to move the officer's recommendation or a motion, please, for discussion? Councillor Earl moving the officer's recommendation and Councillor Muir to second that. Councillor Earl, do you wish to speak to that?
Thank you very much, and I do support the officer's recommendation. And after listening to the deputations tonight, I understand the concerns around the old goods shed, but it's a significant piece of history in our shire. Because there's it's almost all that is left of other than the railway line, of the whole rail industry that was down through our shire from Busselton through to Augusta, 100 years ago. I'm actually old enough to remember seeing the last train leave Quarramup, which was in about 1956. So, the other parts. So I would not advocate knocking it down or basically doing any major changes to it. It is part of our history. Over the times we've lost some of our history from there. The big gantry, it actually sits in Northampton at the moment. I've got somebody sent it up to there many years ago, and I'm not quite sure why. And the station house is at the Whittlestop in Busselton, rapidly deteriorating when perhaps it should be there. And there's the other little house which has fallen apart just a bit further to the south. So, look, I do understand the concerns, but it is part of our history and which we need to look after. So I'm happy to support the officer's recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Earl. Councillor Muir?
Yeah, I just have a couple of questions, I guess, for the officers. I was interested to note some questions about the leasing arrangements, and I just wondered if we had some clarity around if we did go with this option, would there be discussions about some clarity on leasing with the site?
We'll steer that towards the Mr. McLeod, I think most appropriately equipped. Thank you.
So there have been ongoing discussions with the Environment Centre, and I think we would be working to get the best outcome. I think we understand that there's things that are changing on site at the moment with the easement and probably with the nursery, and I think once the Environment Centre has their plans firmed up, that's definitely something that we can incorporate into the lease. So,
I guess I'm wondering, I know there's been discussions about how long the lease might be for. I'm just thinking if they are looking at getting grants for longer term, how long sort of could the lease be? What are we looking at?
So we can, to accommodate capital works being done by lessees, we often will renew a lease or start a new lease term. It will depend on the type of infrastructure and how long it'll be there. But we can go all the way up to 21 years, and that's as far as we can go.
Okay, and I guess I have another question. If the Shire does enter into that agreement and based on past experience, does invest in making the building safe, does that make it more likely that organisations like Lottery West would look favourably on grant applications? Would that be used in kind? Is there that potential?
I don't think I'd be able to answer that question. I might need to take it on notice. Yep.
CEO, would you like to respond to that?
I would say, in my experience of Lottery West applications, a contribution in kind or a contribution towards a grant application can be the value of the land, any improvements we make. So it's how a grant application is packaged to present to Lottery West.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I think this is a really important consideration, and I want to thank the groups involved because I know they have worked incredibly hard over a number of years to reach some stability, and I think the option before us, it's a compromised position, I guess, where we are maintaining heritage values, we're considering equitable use of Shire funds and trying to ensure that the community groups can flourish. And I really commend the attitude that they've taken to work together I guess try and achieve something from what the Shire's providing. So thank you for your work, and thank you to the Shire officers involved. I think we're really all committed to making sure that it does flourish. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Muir. Anyone else wish to speak for or against this item? Councillor Duff, yes.
Yeah, this is a bit of a difficult one because obviously there is quite a few different factors in play here. The historical aspects are something, like Councillor Earl touched on, that we as a council don't want to, it is on our council list as a heritage building. This is a compromise. This is not spending excess money to retain, historical factors of it while keeping it safe, but also making sure that while we do and spend still a reasonable amount of ratepayer money, it doesn't stop the groups involved for doing a fit-for-purpose building on that site, which I think this building it would be quite difficult to get it to be fit for purpose for what the community groups need. So I'm kind of quite happy with where it's landed. It is a compromise. It's not going to give them the building they need, but it'll hopefully allow for further discussions with the administration to work out how you guys can get the buildings that are fit for purpose on that site for everyone. Yeah, and, you'll still have this beautiful building in the middle of it all, which, sorry.
Thanks, Councillor Duff. I think, Councillor Boland, do you wish to talk to this amendment, to this motion?
Yes, I'd like to support it. We've put a lot of time and effort into this, and also the relevant groups have put a lot of time and effort into it. I think it was described as a wicked problem, which, we're having to deal with this wicked problem here tonight. I think probably good to get some finality or some way forward, and 1A gives us a way forward. It wasn't one of the original options. We had a bunch of options. I actually quite liked option 5, which was to refurbish it to a Class 9 building, and I think we got given the example of, I think it was Donnybrook had done something similar, and I had a look at that. It was probably a different scale, but we were hearing that the costs were in the millions there. So I think we weren't, there wasn't any appetite to spend millions on this good shed or anything approaching that. But I think we've had to be mindful of the heritage aspects, which are important. It'd be a shame to lose this building. Hopefully the work we're doing on it will bring it up to a standard that's of some use to community groups. The lease arrangements are something for the future, but the Shire, I'm sure, will be dealing with community groups fairly around what happens in the shed and on this site. We need to do something, make it fit, and I think we've come up with a fairly modest proposal to bring it up to a reasonable standard so that it's of use to the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Boland. Anyone else wish to speak for or against this? Councillor Keno.
Yeah, just briefly. I do support the officer's recommendation. I must admit, when we were first invited up there to have a look at it, I'm just going to demolish it. And then when I got inside, and to see the quality of the workmanship and the timber and that building and its historical value, it's worth doing what we can on it now to let it at least continue in the way that it is. And I would be absolutely devastated to see it demolished. And that's not the perfect outcome for everybody, but at least now we've got a start where it can be preserved and taken into the future, because I think that's really important on such a magnificent building. You just don't see that quality anymore. And it doesn't look like it from the outside, but it's so sturdy. Well, in places. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Keno. Anyone else wish to speak for or against this? No. Councillors, I think we'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Procedural motion to return to standing orders and the order of business. Councillor Muir to move that. A seconder, please, councillors. Councillor Keno. All those in favour? Okay, thanks, councillors. That's carried. We'll go back to the order of business. So the next item on the agenda, folks, is 11.2.1, the Turner Street Jetty concept design. So, councillors, we have an officer's recommendation there. Do I have a councillor to move that or a motion, please? Councillor Duff, you're moving the officer's recommendation. And a seconder, Councillor Muir. Thank you. Councillor Duff.
Yeah, this is another one which is a bit difficult, like the old goods shed. It's definitely got a lot of community and historical value. And I thank the administration and all the community members that came together to continue discussing and having a reference group. There was a lot of work that's been going on behind the scenes for the last couple of months. But I do have to say I'm glad to see that this is going out for further community consultation past just that reference group, and because it is going to cost money to ratepayers, and it is a very big decision to move money from one project to another. And the ongoing effects of that, we need to look at that in a bit more detail. So I'm really happy that we haven't just jumped straight in. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dath. Councillor Muir.
Yeah, just further to Councillor Dath's comments, I am really pleased that we have established a community reference group. It's really important that the community that's impacted by these decisions have ongoing input. And I think it's important that we consider the wider economic implications of considering, what they have put forward, and looking at what projects will be impacted and putting it towards the community in terms of prioritising those projects and what they would like to see happen. I look forward to this form of engagement with the community.
Thank you, Councillor Muir. Anyone else? Councillor Binks. Sorry, Councillor, you might need to use your neighbour's mic.
Thank you. I guess I have to speak like Councillor Boland now. I want to make a couple of comments about this, and that is that sometimes what you see, there's more to it than what you see. And when you first consider things like the old goods shed and the Turner Street Jetty, there's more to these things, and they impact the entire Shire community, not just Augusta, not just Margaret River, but the community is benefited, and it comes down to community benefit, by those who work together and use these assets that we have. Now, a lot of money we're talking about with these things, so I think we have a responsibility as spokespeople for the community and people who are representative of the community, that in some cases we need to be able to get a clearer picture as to what the wider community have as far as their vision for these is concerned. So I do believe that the councillor's recommendation has a lot of wisdom to it, and it's an appropriate course for us to take at this point in time. So I'm supportive of the officer's recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Binks. Anyone else wish to speak for or against this item? I'll speak to support this recommendation. I think this really clearly respects that consultation with that group, and they were very supportive for replacement of the existing structure with a fixed timber deck jetty. So a like for like. I like the budget allocation there that will get us that detailed design, which is really important, to then obviously go to tender, which will tell us what the real price is. We won't know until we go to market. But really, I think most importantly, that aspect, the third part of that recommendation, is that consultation and those costs associated with us supporting their recommendation, what the impact on other, another project, likely in the hood of Augusta. So I think this is great. It's a thorough and really respectful of community consultation and their preferred option, and I'm really happy to support this motion to move forward with this project. If there's no one who wishes to speak against or for this, we'll put that to the vote. Councillors, all those in favour? Carried unanimously. Next item on the agenda is 11.3.1, which is our very important Strategic Community Plan 2025 to 2035. Councillors, we have a recommendation in front of us on the screen there. Do I have a councillor to move this? Councillor Dath and Councillor Muir to second it. Councillor Dath.
I brought it along with me.
Oh,
Yeah.
Isn't it beautiful?
Yeah. So I'm really happy with this. Thank you very much to the administration. And there were so many volunteer hours from the community that went on over more than a 6-month period to create this document. And I actually really look forward to using this document to help us make our decisions and to help us advocate for our community. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dath. Councillor Muir.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really proud of the document, and I really like the statement and the vision behind it. One community standing together with nature. I really like the sense of inclusivity and that we, I guess, recognise what makes us unique, and it's this place and it's our identity and our culture. And having just recently come from a different country and come home again, that really stands out to me, that we live somewhere special, that we really do, and it's quite unique. And I'm really proud of our community. We have such a range of people. We have, fourth generation farmers and people who've been here for 60,000 years and millennia. And we have people who have come from Germany and do hybrid work across the world. And that's an amazing diversity that we have here. And I think it's such a wealth that we have. And I'm really proud that our strategic community plan identifies that and builds on it.
Thank you, Councillor Muir. Anyone else wish to speak to this motion? Thank you, Councillor Keno.
Sorry. Look, congratulations to Mr Cresswell and the team behind this. There's a lot of hours and a lot of effort gone into getting it to where it is. I just wanted to say that if you read nothing else in the document, page 6 in this document and page 7 in the next one, listing what the Shire is responsible for in its facilities. Over 600 structures from boat ramps to cemeteries, bridges and playgrounds, 609 kilometres of sealed roads, 262 kilometres of unsealed roads and 175 kilometres of paths and trails. That's a lot of stuff to start with, along with everything else that we do. And I think that it is a real credit to the teams behind all of those things, but the community plan has been, certainly well thought out, but that in itself is just something that probably a lot of people aren't aware of, and it's a really great page.
Thank you, Councillor Keno. I'd like to, first of all, congratulate the community for really being a big part of this. Of course, it's your document, it's Council's guiding plan, but it's really come from the community. And I'm very proud to support this in its format. I think it's really easy to read. It's very clear about where we want to be in the future. And I think it's, it's going to provide very good clarity to the organisation to reach those outcomes. It's really outcome based. So I'm very pleased to see this document come to us. Thank you to all of those involved at the Shire for pulling it together. I just want to address something, and there was a suggestion from the community around some wording. You can see within this within the text here that some minor amendments and design requirements may be needed before it's finalised, and Council have had a briefing in regards to this, and it's very minor. But just in terms to what the Shire does, we advocate, we regulate, and particularly around the word regulate. So I think it's very well defined in the document, actually, in its current form, because it captures a significant part of what we do, the bread and butter of the Shire's role, and that is to, really referring to powers to approve, prohibit and enforce. So whether those regulations are being administered from the state or federal government, or in some cases it's the Shire's own local laws that council develops and adopts that guides the Shire to govern, the local government certainly is categorically tasked with regulating. So I'm very comfortable in that word in the document. I think it's very accurate. So, in a nutshell, really proud to support this document in its current form. Thank you. Councillor Binks.
Thank you, Shire President. With anything where you get a group of people together to try and reach agreement on things, sometimes you've got to have a little bit of give and take in it. There's no question that there are going to be points in it that where the language that we use or the words that are chosen may not be quite exactly what everybody has in mind. The important thing is the intent that's behind it. And I'm pleased with the document because I believe that it captures the right intent. Likewise, Councillor Meldrum, I think that the document does do that. And we can sit around and have a coffee and a beer or whatever and talk about the different language that we use to try and communicate the things that we are wanting to. But I think we've done well. So thanks to everybody.
Thank you, Councillor. If there's no one else who wishes to speak for or against this motion, councillors, let's put this very important document to the vote. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. We now are moving on to item 11.3.2. Okay, councillors, in front of us we have the 11.3.2 is the Corporate Business Plan 2025 to 29. Let's get a motion on the table, councillors, for consideration. We have Councillor Dath to move the officer's recommendation and Councillor Muir to second it. Thank you. Councillor Dath, do you wish to speak to that?
Yes, I'd like to ask to move an amendment to the motion, to the officer's recommendation. Okay, so just that the following words as underlined be added, that the council endorses the Corporate Business Plan 25-29 with the following amendment. On page 31 of the attachment 1, the completion date 2026 to 27 be omitted from the Key Project Sustainable Economy Strategy Review. And B, that the CEO prepare a report on how the Sustainable Economy Strategy Review can be brought forward to the 2025-26 to be presented at the 27th of August on the ordinary council meeting. And authorises, well, that's part of the original.
Okay, yeah. So the amendment's in the underlined component here. So thanks, Councillor Dath. You're moving that amendment, and Councillor Muir wishes to second that. So do you wish to speak to that, Councillor Dath? We'll deal with this amendment first.
Just quickly that, we've just passed the strategic community plan, and in that, under looking after our growing communities, we have an outcome that farmers and small businesses feel valued and supported. And so this plan is concluding this year, and I just feel that an 18-month to 2-year lag time between we look at it again is a bit too long. So I think if we want to make sure we continue our momentum in this area and make sure that our small business community, which I have lots of stats on how we've grown, but I won't go into it. We can leave that to next month. So, but yeah, I just feel like it's, the administration have said they have the time to bring a report to us next month. So yeah, thank you. I ask for your support.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Muir, do you wish to speak to that? No, okay. If there's anyone who wishes to speak against that, please indicate no or for. If not, councillors will put that amendment to the vote. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. So that now becomes part of the primary motion, substantial motion there, which is pretty straightforward. So endorsing the plan with those minor amendments, and of course the authorising our CEO to make some minor amendments. So, Councillor Dath, you moved that motion. Do you wish to speak to that?
Yeah, no, it's another really good document that, apart from this small amendment that I've brought forward, I'm very happy with. So thank you much to the administration. It's another really good document for the community to have a look at to how we actually intend to implement this strategic community plan. So this is the outcomes we want to get to, and the corporate business plan is how we intend to get there and where and what's being prioritised in the timeframe. So it's a really good place to go and check your projects to see when they're going to be funded and worked on.
Thank you. Councillor Muir?
Yeah, I'm really pleased with this corporate business plan because it's so well linked to the strategic community plan, and this is where the rubber hits the road and we can really see that level of detail, and I'm pleased to see that it's linked so carefully to what the community has put forward that they see as a priority.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak for or against this item? Councillor Boland.
I suppose I'll just say we've got a lot of big ticket agenda items tonight, and a lot of hard work's gone into them via the administration and the community to input into them. I think we've come up with some very good results. I won't go into the detail. There's pages and pages of detail there, and but it does show how much is going on in this community, and that's going to be reflected in other items that we deal with tonight, like our annual budget. But yes, commend this document. The good work done by a number of people. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Boland. And reflecting on another councillor's comments, I'm sure community can't wait to read this. But really, we have a level of intimate understanding on, how significant this document is and all the things we're considering, many things on tonight's agenda, folks. So I feel very comfortable that this is in a format that is very much in line with our community's expectations and vision for the next 4 years and larger than that. So very happy to support it. There's no one who wishes to speak against it. Let's put it to the vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Wonderful. We're now on to item 11.3.3, another big ticket item, the adoption of the 2025-26 differential rates, minimum payments and rate concessions. We've got a very detailed officer's recommendation there. Sorry. Okay, councillors, we've got that officer's recommendation on the screen there. Do I have a councillor to move that recommendation? Councillor Earl. Councillor Earl and then Councillor Binks to second. Councillor Earl, do you wish to speak to this?
No, thanks, I don't.
Councillor Binks? What Councillor Earl said. Councillors, anyone else wish to speak for or against this item? Councillor Boland.
I suppose it's such a big item that it's probably worth some comment, but just we've got a large budget. There's about $60 million there that I don't know whether it's ever approached that amount previously. I think this might be our largest ever budget. Again, a lot of work gone into it by the administration. We've got very good briefings on all areas. We heard, from the staff themselves about what was needed by them, by the community, and we've assessed all those items and made the appropriate allocations to the many and varied things that get spent on in this community. I think we've taken a responsible view to the raising of the revenue that is involved to pay for those things, and I think we've got a good outcome there. So commendations to everyone involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Boland. Councillor Dath.
Yeah, I just like to point out, we've talked about this quite a few times, and it is a big one, a very big one. But I'd just like to point out that we did reduce the interest on the any payments that aren't coming in full at the beginning. So there's a 0.5% decrease to go in line with our past council decisions to make sure that we're not actually making money on that. We're actually just making sure we're recouping the money. And also just word to the community that there is options to do payment plans, and we did take out the fees for that last year. So if you are having hardship, financial hardship, to reach out to our administration, and they will set up a payment plan for you so that you don't have to be hit with those big bills like once or the 4 times a year. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dath. Took the words right out of my mouth. That's wonderful. Thank you for acknowledging that, though, and I'm pleased and absolutely happy to endorse this with that reduced interest rate, and additionally being very clear that we, the Shire, is open to making arrangements with ratepayers, recognising the current economic climate and realising that a lot of people are under financial stress. But it's something we must do and continue on. So I'm happy to pass this in its current form. If there's no one else who wishes to speak for or against, we'll put this to the vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. We now go to item 11.3.4, one of the big things on the agenda, again, of course, tonight, councillors, is the 2025-26 annual budget. Do I have a councillor to move that? Councillor Earl. A seconder. Councillor Dath. Councillor Earl.
Oh, thank you, and well done, Councillor Dath. I support the recommendation here for the budget for the next year, and this will probably be my last budget, and this is the 16th that I've sat through. I'd like to thank the people that stuck around here tonight to listen to this. Normally, in a lot of occasions, we sit here in an empty room waffling on about just how good a job we've done to set up the budget. But at least we've got a few of you here tonight to listen to. So thank you very much for hanging around. But you'll all know we've had to stick the rates up, and this year we're collecting a bit over $31 million worth of rates to help to run the Shire, what we do and these people down here do on behalf of all of us. We had quite in-depth briefings and talks with all of the different business units from around the Shire, and I'd like to thank them, and if you could pass on their thanks to them for the great jobs they did. I'd also like to thank the CEO and the staff down here, and particularly Director Stevens, who's got a head down over at the other end there, for providing us with great input, and for all of you the great input, because it's a pretty big job. But one of the things that came out of listening to the business units was the struggle to have enough staff, and I think most of us in business would find out there that there's some sort of difficulty around that, and the lack of staff then puts more pressure back on into the organisation, and somehow we as a council, or it'll be you as a council, need to try and work out how we can deal with that. If you listen to what Councillor Cano said a few minutes ago out of the corporate business plan about how many roads and buildings and all the rest of the stuff, this is a really big job that we have here to try and deal with it. And I guess one of the things I'd wanted to probably talk about is where to in the future, because from when I came onto council 16 years ago to when I look forward over the next few years to the things that need to be done out there and that we need to find the money for, and it's to help to support I expect close to 1,000 people a year that are moving into our Shire. There's a lot of people coming. It does bring more rates, but it does bring more costs and more effort required. And even if you just look at perhaps a couple of the small ones around the place that will need to be done over the time that you'll all have to work out how we get there. We've got this magnificent water supply that sits out the back over here called the wastewater treatment plant, which puts tertiary treated water onto the ovals here. But we need to find the money to get it down to the new subdivisions in the south of Margaret. And it's a job that Director Logan's going to have to work on over the next year or so to make sure that we can get it down there. Otherwise, if you're going to have ovals for our kids to play on, we need to put decent enough water on them, but we don't want to be taking that straight out of the mains. We might as well use the recycled stuff. So there's a cost. Yet even right now, we've got a building over the back that's on the lower Western Oval, which is probably going to need $2, $3, $5 million to turn it into a facility that will stack up for the next 10 or 20 years, because that was built in 1984 and it is not fit for purpose, the amount of people that are using it. And if you went even to Quarramup and you see the rapid growth in Quarramup, if you go up there on a Wednesday afternoon, just have a look at the amount of kids that are running around on that oval playing. We're running out of time and space for those kids. So at some point we're going to have to put lights up so that you can extend that time and do further works on the oval. These things are all coming to you. If you don't realise it's happening, just walk out the door and have a look on any given day up and down the main street of the amount of people that have moved into our shire and continue to come there. And there's nothing. We actually can't stop that. We can't stop that because there will be other implications to that. So I guess the things for the council in each of the future, and I would wonder whether there's not an opportunity to talk to some of the mining companies out there who have enormous pockets and who are actually causing a fair bit of the crisis that we all have around staff. That they can offer them huge amounts of money, they go away, they put the pressures on people like me and others in business and on the Shire. If you're in Port Hedland or one of those towns up there, they pump huge amount of money into their communities. But we don't get any of that, but we are supporting a lot of their workers. Now that the flights are going out through Busselton, we are supporting their community. So I think through our advocacy committee at some stage we need to get into them that they should be starting to look to fund it. We actually need to also talk to the government about this. There's probably additional funds that some of us councils, rapidly growing councils who are in an area like ours where they stand us up as the poster boy or girl, of Western Australia, please come and visit. They don't give us any extra money to help deal with all the people and all the pressure that's going on our coast and other stuff around. So there's further jobs that that a future council needs to do. So a couple of years ago, after being Shire President, I moved that we take the Shire Presidents and Deputy Shire Presidents' allowances up to 100% of the band. We are a significant council, and there's a lot of work required by councils. So that somebody doesn't come back and say, why did you hide it in the budget? We've actually lifted the band for all the councillors to 100% this year, and from 100% of the band. What we need out there is we need good people, and some of them need to be business people that can come along and be part of the council. And we have to pay those councillors a rate that's commensurate with the job that they do. Some of us can probably afford not to be paid or take a lesser, but there's an awful lot of people out here who would like to take on the job, but they go, if I've got to get up a couple of days a week of my life, that's really going to impact me. And so we probably don't see them until they're starting to turn grey-haired like me. So, and we need to get younger men and women to put their hands up to be councillors, and the only way you can do that is to pay them a commensurate rate. If you look at us as a council, we sit in the band too, but we are probably a band one of a few years ago, effectively. We would be at the top level of a band two, and I think there's some obligation on the government and others to move that band. It's only a few extra dollars for the councils. It makes absolutely no difference in the budget. Some people might whinge about it, but I think it's the only way that we can, if we want to attract really good candidates, particularly some out of business and others, we need to make sure that we're offering something commensurate with the effort that they'll be putting in. And it'll be about half of what the effort you'll have to put in, even if you don't do bugger all. it's a long job. So I've been in this for 16 years, 2 years as deputy, 4 years as president, and I can tell you, doesn't matter what they pay you, you ain't getting enough. So, other than that, everyone, I think well done to everyone on the budget. You know, one of the things we can start. There's a lot going on out there for in our community. There's a lot of the stuff that the Shire's doing. We're trying to get on top of all the infrastructure and the maintenance and the repairs and all the rest of the stuff. It takes money and it takes a workforce. And I think that's another challenge for our CEO, is the ability to be able to pay people enough to keep them in the jobs. So they're all things you're going to have to work on over the next 12 months. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Earl. Councillor Daff.
I think Councillor Earl covered any possible topic on the budget, so yeah, I'm happy. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillors, does anyone else wish to speak for or against this item? Okay, we'll indulge you, Councillor Earl, and you have covered us all, so thank you very much. But no, really, in conclusion, I would just like to say, look, I'm very happy to pass this in its current format, and particularly to be very transparent about what we as councillors get paid here. And, you know, it really is, just to reflect on Councillor Earl's comments, it really is an important job. It requires a time commitment, and it is a sacrifice, as we all know here in this room, that we make when we join council, that we don't do it for the money, and it's a time commitment, but it's a really important commitment where we can have real, you know, short, medium and long-term impact for our community and future generations. So yeah, I'm very pleased to pass this in its format as is presented to us. Let's put the annual budget to the vote, councillors. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. 11.3.5 is our land optimisation policy and land framework. So, councillors, we have an officer recommendation there. Do I have a councillor to move a motion? That one. Councillor Keno, you wish to move that as written, and Councillor Muir? Is that, yeah? Councillor Keno, do you wish to speak to that recommendation, or Councillor Muir?
Yeah, I'll just say I think this is an important kind of strategic way forward to ensure equitable use of Shire land, and I guess start the process of workshops to identify how do we ensure that we are being strategic and equitable.
Thank you, Councillor Muir. Anyone else wish to speak for or against this? Councillor Boland.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I support the recommendation. I think this is another big ticket item in a lot of ways, because I keep hearing that we have so many properties to deal with, and I think it approaches a couple of hundred. So this land optimisation policy is going to affect a lot of properties, a lot of people who use those properties, a lot of community groups, sporting groups, etc. And I think we've got to have a discussion around that. I look forward to the next stage of this, because I think this is more housekeeping, that we're establishing some principles. We are then looking at having an inventory, so we can go to a document and see what there is, because I think we're a bit scattered in what we have at the moment. This is bringing things together, and then we move to the next step. So I look forward to that, so that we can I think, look after those people who are using our facilities. There is, in principle number 2, that we'll establish an equitable methodology for calculating rent and licence fees, and detail the standard lease and licence terms and conditions for different types of tenants based on the following principles. So I think when we get to that stage, we've got to be sensitive about the needs of our community. There are many community groups that may not have great resources to have premises, and we've got to establish fair and reasonable methodologies around that. But that's the next step. So happy that we've got to this stage, and look forward to what flows from this.
Thank you, Councillor. If there's no one else who wishes to speak for or against this item, councillors, let's put it to the vote. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. 11.3.6 is the council submission, the proposed regulations regarding communications agreement. So we've been asked to put a submission in. We have an officer's recommendation there, councillors. Do I have someone to move that or an alternative? Councillor Muir moving the officer's Councillor Earl moving the officer's recommendation. Sorry, I just said the wrong name. Anyone else who wishes to second that one? Councillor Keno. Okay. So, Councillor Earl, do you wish to speak to this? Councillor Keno? Anyone wish to speak against this or for this? Yes, Councillor Boland.
Yeah, I had some inquiries about clarification of the attachments that are referred to, that we're making a Shire submission to the department, and then we're making a Shire submission to Walga. And I had a look at our Walga submission, but that simply seems to be adding our name to the Walga standard submission. Could I just check that that's the situation?
Mr McLeod will answer that one for you, Councillor.
Yes, I believe it is to the extent that Council have amended any of the comments or recommendations that might be inconsistent, but if they're not, then it will be the same.
Right. It didn't look like we'd made anything, made any comments different to the Walga submission. Is that the situation?
That's correct.
All right. Okay.
Nothing inconsistent anyway.
Right. There was one part of this that I raised some concerns around at last week's agenda review, which was there's a clause 15 about resolving disputes about access to information. There's a clause 15 in the regulations, it's called an order about how to resolve a dispute. Our submission says that clause 15 isn't supported. I actually prefer the clause 15 as drafted, but when I looked at it closely, it's very similar to our submission, so I'm not seeing any need to amend that. I'd actually prefer something different, such as an independent decision maker, such as, say, the Information Commissioner or the department, but seeing this is already in legislation, that's probably not going to happen, but I think that would be important if it was removed from the actual council and the administration.
So, Councillor Boland, are you proposing an amendment or are you not proposing an amendment?
I'm saying I'm not proposing an amendment, which was
Okay.
floated a bit last week, but
got it.
One other thing I want to add is in the agenda item, there's an item around consultation and advice, and it says the department, Walga, Local Government Professionals Association. So I've also made contact with the Local Government Elected Members Association of WA, which I'm a member, and which is working on a submission, which I may contribute to. I've spoken to them and I'm interested in the subject. I think this is quite a big subject, and I may contribute to that. There's also a call for individual councillor submissions.
Absolutely have the right to do that.
From the department. So it may be that I lodge a separate submission, but I'll support for now what we are putting forward.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and I encourage you to do so. Yeah. Okay, so anyone else wish to speak for or against this item that we're considering? No, let's put it to the vote. Councillors, all those in favour? Carried unanimously. Wonderful. We are now on to 11.3.7, which is the RFQ for debt recovery services. Councillors, we have an officer recommendation there. Do I have a councillor to move that? Councillor Binks and Councillor Keno to second it. Councillor Binks. Okay, Councillor Keno. If there's anyone else who wishes to speak for or against this item, we'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. 11.3.8 is our list of payments for June 2025. We have an officer recommendation there. Do I have a councillor to move that? Councillor Muir, and seconded Councillor Boland. Councillor Muir?
I just move it as written, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Boland? If there's no one who wishes to speak against that, we'll put that to the vote. Councillors, all those in favour? Carried unanimously. Next item on the agenda, councillors, is 11.3.9, which is our financial activity statement for May 2025. Have an officer recommendation in front of us on the screen. Do I have someone to move that, please? Councillor Boland and Councillor Keno to second. Councillor Boland. Councillor Boland. No. If there's no one to speak against that item, folks, we'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. As we now move into a final few items on the agenda this evening, councillors, and item 12 is motions from members of which previous notice has been given. There are none, or is that... So, yeah, just to confirm that there's nothing has met the criteria for item 12, but 13, we have motions for consideration at the next meeting, and I believe there are a couple. Councillor Keno, did you have a motion you wish to note at this stage? Yep. Sorry, Councillor Keno, can you just put your mic on? I think we have it in front of us there.
Yeah, so just to be considered at the next ordinary council meeting that the council requests that the CEO amend the council information sessions policy to remove all references to pre-meeting agenda review session.
Okay. Councillors, we've got no debate or discussion on this or questions at all. It's just foreshadowing some motions for the next meeting. Councillor Daff, I believe you have one also.
Yes, thank you. My motion is that the council requests that the CEO to engage a qualified consultant to undertake a bushfire hazard level assessment BHL for lot 783 Mitchell Drive, Narrabeen, lot 501, 502 and 504 Reef Drive, Narrabeen, and lot 503 Seagrass Place, Narrabeen, as soon as possible, and that the BHL be published to the Shire upon completion, by the Shire upon completion, and forwarded to the SDAU for their consideration as part of the decision-making process related to the development of the above sites.
Thank you, Councillor Daff. Are there any other motions, councillors, for consideration at the next meeting? No? Okay. We will move now to item 14, new business of an urgent nature. There are none from members, and there is none from the CEO as far as I am aware. As there is no confidential business under item 15, I therefore close this meeting. Thank you everyone for your attendance, closed at 7:07 p.m. Thank you.